up with all this at tarpley.net. Two Russian Today commentaries from this week will be posted by the time you hear this. It's a depression, not a recession. Not the usual business cycle, whatever that means. Not the usual boom and bust, but a breakdown crisis outside of the realm of the business cycle. That should have been obvious, by the way, September, October 2008, because a financial panic does not usually take down the totality of the Anglo-American banking system. That was already a sign that things had gone very, very wrong. It's a world depression. It's not just the U.S. and the British. The European Union has now become a center of this on its own. It is going to hit Japan. Japan right now has benefited, but they are going to be a target of the hedge funds. The Chinese have tremendous problems. The Chinese have two big problems, an export dependency towards countries that are collapsing, and if it's a sovereign debt crisis, the entire Chinese reserves are held in the form of sovereign debt, mainly of the U.S. That was insanity, wasn't it, dear friends of China? You should have been putting that into infrastructure, capital goods, real economic production. I guess you have to be a Marxist to believe that pieces of paper represent wealth, because they don't. The American system is a better guide. Switch from Marxism to the American system of Henry Carey, Friedrich List, Alexander Hamilton, Abraham Lincoln, Justin Morrill, and the rest of them. India also not going to be immune, and we can see this already. Brazil under heavy pressure. I think Brazil a good candidate to go bust. Argentina also under very, very heavy pressure. The Philippines and so forth. Basically, every emerging market is under attack. And let me just remind you, there's a whole bunch of countries in Eastern Europe who've already been to the IMF once. Greece is now tragically going to the IMF austerity ghouls and austerity vampires, monetarists. These are the people who preach that insane gospel of deregulation, privatization, union busting, destroy the state sector, race to the bottom, and all the rest of this low-wage economy, obviously opposite of the American system. But remember, countries that have already gone to the IMF, Iceland under British and Dutch attack, Ukraine, Hungary, Belarus, Serbia, Romania, Pakistan, Turkey also has been in trouble. All of these countries are also obvious targets to come under attack. We'll see whether the Irish austerity program is going to save them. It's not going to. They're going to be attacked too. The markets, investors in quotes, don't care whether you've got your austerity program. They're coming after you no matter what. The other thing is this goes beyond a panic. It goes beyond a crash. It is a disintegration. Disintegration means what? The euro breaks apart. That's a disintegration. That's the most recent one we had was September 21st, 1931, when the British pound defaulted. The Bank of England was bankrupt. Don't believe anybody that the British last defaulted in 1672. No. They went belly up September 21st, 1931, and that was the central event. The central worldwide event of the Great Depression was the British pound going off the gold standard. Check my essay on tarpley.net under the Against Oligarchy section. The European Central Bank is likely to break apart if they don't do what I tell them to do here in a little bit later in the program. The euro is likely to break apart. As I said before, you could experience panic runs out of the British pound for a whole series of reasons. Whatever problems Greece and Portugal and Spain and so forth have, the British have those in spades. And now they've got ungovernability as well. With the pound, though, the euro-dollar market in London, much forgotten, but that is probably the principal finance market in the world when it comes to various kinds of transactions, international lending, international trade, and so forth. And as the British go down, that euro-dollar market, which has been there for 50 years, since Guido Carli set it up in the late 1950s, that's likely to blow up as well. So we'll talk a little bit in a minute about the three waves of the Depression, but what should the Europeans do immediately? Hey, Europeans, the first thing you should do is you are under attack by hedge funds. It's been on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Soros, Paulson, Einhorn, SAC. This is the hedge fund hyena wolf pack, to mix a metaphor, it's attacking you. Well, if you're being attacked by hedge funds, outlaw hedge funds, ban them, regulate them out of existence. No more hedge funds, no more locust funds, die Heuschreckenfonds, no more in the European Union. Simple, shut them down. The other thing, these hedge funds are using what? And the zombie banks are using what? Credit default swaps. Remember, that's what destroyed AIG. That's what is now being used against Greece and these other countries. This is how they short them. This is how California and other U.S. states are coming under attack. See my recent commentary on Russia Today on that. If you're under attack by somebody who's using credit default swaps, ban credit default swaps. They're illegal. They represent selling insurance without meeting the legal requirements to be an insurance company. They're illegal ipso facto. You don't need any laws. Just use your normal insurance laws to shut down the criminal enterprises that are selling credit default swaps when they haven't fulfilled the necessary requirements. And since Lloyd Blankfein of Goldman Sachs brought it up a week ago Tuesday in his infamous congressional testimony, he says maybe synthetic collateralized debt obligations, synthetic CDOs or CDO squared, maybe those are too complex. Maybe we shouldn't have them. Bravo, Lloyd. Bingo. Ban synthetic CDOs. Ban synthetic CDOs, and you will lift a huge part of the crushing debt burden. Parenthetically, obviously, criminal associations should not be allowed to operate in the European Union. Ergo, Goldman Sachs should be banned. Expel them. Get rid of them. In terms of overall speculation, the other blanket thing we need is the Tobin tax, the Wall Street sales tax, the Robin Hood tax, the securities transfer tax, the financial transfer tax, the trading tax. Call it what you will, 1% tax on all derivatives, all speculation, doesn't matter what it is. Once you get beyond $1 million or whatever it is in euros per person, make it €1 million if you want to. So only millionaires will pay. 1% goes to the public coffers. Probably the nation states need this the most. So tax speculation. Stop the free ride of the zombie bankers and hedge fund hyenas. Don't let them be subsidized, essentially, by the public treasury. Obviously, the Glass-Steagall standard. You have banks, you have insurance companies, you have investment banks. Pick one and only one. And if you're a bank, no derivatives. Clear. The other thing now is as the hedge fund assault and the wolf packs gather and increase their attacks, exchange controls and capital controls. This could be done at the level of the euro, and why not? But individual countries, the British might want to think about this if they want to save themselves. Forget free trade, forget free markets. Those are myths used to gull and dupe the little people. The tragedy is that we've got financiers who sometimes believe their own stupid ideology. Exchange controls and capital controls. Most recent example, Malaysia, 1998, Mahathir Mohamad, very successful. Malaysia did much better than any of the Asian contagion countries in that crisis 10 or 12 years ago. Exchange controls and capital controls now, you Europeans. Now, we have Sarkozy of France. Let's look at him. We mentioned before, under the Fifth Republic, the emergency powers of the French presidency are admirable. They're extremely robust and vigorous. So maybe we could look at Sarkozy. It sounds impossible. I'll give you the example of Herbert Hoover later on in the show. If Herbert Hoover, Andrew Mellon, and Henry Stimson could agree on a debt freeze for the Europeans in 1931, which is the example we need, then basically anything could happen. I would say Obama, because of his stupidity, not a good candidate. Merkel, feckless. Let's look at some of the cunning players. Let's look at Sarkozy. Let's look at Berlusconi. Let's look at people who have some brains at least. Now, Sarkozy has been attacking the speculators who are targeting Greece, and that is what we would like to build on in the second hour. We got advice for Sarkozy and Berlusconi coming up in the second hour. We'll be back.